Hello, 11 students. Welcome back to our statistics and our probability class. And this will be our week 5, I think. Yes, it's week 5 of our second semester. Okay, so we will just continue about discussing the normal curve. Okay, so I will share my screen. As we already know about this one, okay, when we say normal curve, okay, the center of our okay, when we say normal curve, the center of our curve is actually our mean, correct? And above the mean, we have 50%. Below the mean, we also have 50%. So our normal curve, or what we call as a bell curve, also, okay, and the two sides are symmetrical. Okay, so if you fold those two sides is magkalapat sila, so they are symmetrical. So this side, okay, above the mean is 50% and below the mean is 50%. So that is only a review about this normal curve. Now let us talk about the percentage of each standard deviations that are pointed above the mean and below the mean. All right. At the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to properly construct a normal curve. So you will construct your own normal curve. Okay. Correctly find the area of a region under the normal curve. So we'll find the area also. So you will solve and accurately solve real-life problems involving normal curve. Okay, so since this one is statistics, this is easy to apply in real-life situations. Okay, so we will solve real-life problems. So those are the three main objectives for this lesson. So you need to listen well, and if you didn't understand, then just do it or just replay it again. Okay, if you still don't understand, just message. Start. Let us first discuss the parts of a normal curve, including the standard deviations. So let's learn about this one first. Normal curve or bell curve is because it's like a bell, so it's also called as bell curve. That there is a graph that represents a probability density function of a normal probability distribution. Why it is called a normal probability distribution? Since our normal curve is symmetrical, okay, so we can say that this one is the basic or the normal thing that we are doing in probability distribution. And of course, when we say normal curve, at the center we have the mean, we have the median, and the mode. So all of those three central tendency, how do you call that one? Terminologies, okay, are at the center. So that means everything are the same or symmetrical. That's why we call this a normal curve. So it is also called a Gaussian curve, named after the mathematician Carl Friedrich Gauss. Okay? So pwede mo siyang tawag na normal curve, bell curve, or the Gaussian curve. Okay, it's because AU is out, right? Gaussian or Gaussian curve. It's up to you how you can call it. It's Gaussian or Gaussian. Okay. Now, example: the graph below represents the normal curve where the symbol is for the mean, okay, and this symbol is for the standard deviation. As you can see here, we already have the okay, and each line has its own formula. And last time we already know about those. Okay, say mean plus standard deviation, mean minus standard deviation, that is what we call one standard deviation. Right? If we have mean plus 2 standard deviation and mean minus 2 standard deviation, that is what we call 2 standard deviation. Of course, you have the last one, which is what we call 3 standard deviation. So we will again tackle those three. What are those? One standard deviation, two standard deviation, and three standard deviations. Those are what we call the empirical rules. Right? Empirical rules, it includes the area of the region between one standard deviation away from the mean. Just like what you can see here, you can find the area of these below and above and below the mean, right? In one standard deviation away from the mean is 0.6826. At 0.6826 is equivalent to 60.26%. That means that will be the total area of this one standard deviation away from the mean. Right? Next one. We have the two standard deviations away from the mean, which is 0.9544. But lumaki because it also includes the one standard deviation. Right? So it's still away from the mean. Still away from the mean. Right? Still away from the mean. So it includes also the one standard deviation. That's why it became 0.9544 or 95.44%. That will be the area of that shaded parts in our normal curve. The last one is we have the three standard deviations away from the mean is 0.9974. Okay, 9974 or 99.74%. Okay. So it almost shaded all the parts of the normal curve. Since our normal curve is 100%. Right? Remember, this part must be total of 50%. And this part must be total of 50%. So we have 100%. Right? But if we are doing the empirical rules, we also, or can take only each part or percentage of each part that includes one standard deviation, two standard deviations, and three standard deviations. We are only concentrating up to three standard deviations. Right? And then kapag sumobra siya doon sa third or three standard deviation, it will become what we call outlier, right? Or kapag, ay, no, this one is sumobra kapag the two standard deviations naman. Okay? How about if the data or the datum is above or below three standard deviations? That is what we call now extreme. Right? This is what we already studied last time. Alright? So kapag sumobra siya doon sa two standard deviation, will become outlier. If sumobra pa siya doon sa third or three standard deviation, will become extreme. Those are just simple review to our past topic. Okay, so we are just reviewing this one again. For one standard deviation away from the mean, we have 68.26%. Memorize now. 68.26%. 68.26%. That's for one standard deviation. Two 95.44%. It's because we will need these percentages or decimals in order to solve or to apply those numbers to our next number. So this will be 99.74%. Okay, so just like this one. So we will just follow this lead. Example number one. What is the area of the scores in a normally distributed data? So it includes a normal curve, right? It's normally distributed data that is more than one standard deviation. So we'll draw a normal curve. This is our mean, one standard. That means that is more than. So it's here or it's here. Okay? More than one standard deviation above the mean. Above the mean. So our concentration are on this part only. This part only. So this will be our main problem. So what will be the area of this one? What will be the area of this one? Remember, this whole part is 50%. Right? So ang pinaka-main problem lang natin is what will be the size of this one. So we can now also find this, right? By subtracting it from 50%. You will understand this one. This first. Yeah. So let's continue. So how to find this one? These are the solution. First is we need to shape the region in the normal curve that is one standard deviation above the mean. Right? This is one standard deviation. So we need to shape the area above the mean. One standard deviation above the mean. Alright, that's the first step. So you must know how to identify that part first. Number two, use the empirical rule to find the area of the given region. When you say empirical rule, these are the three percentages or decimals here on top. Nasulat ko kanina. Okay? So, ito yung ating gagamitin dito. And then we need to find the area of the region one standard deviation away from the mean. So, ano muna yung area ng one standard deviation? Of course, that we know that this one is 68, 68 or 0.6826. Right? This will be the area of this whole thing. Now, after finding or after knowing that area, let us now proceed to this one. Since the whole thing 0.6826, we need to divide it by 2. What will be our proof that we can divide this by 2? Since I told you last time that this curve or this side of the curve is symmetrical to the other side of this curve. That means if I will just like flip them into one, then it will become symmetric. That means walang sobra, okay, walang kulang, lapat na lapat. Okay, that's what we call symmetric. So since they're symmetric, I can identify that this part is half of this whole part, right? So we will just divide this part into 2, just like what I did here. Okay, so we have 0.6826 divided by 2 is 0.3413. Okay? So after knowing this part, we can now solve for this part. How? So this will be the last step. Since you already know, okay, since you already know this part, which is 0.3413, and you have the knowledge that this half is 50%, or in decimal is 0.5, right? So since you have this given, you can now subtract the area of this given part from 0.5. Okay? So we have 0.5 minus 0.3413, which is 0.1587. Thus, the area of the region more than one standard deviation above the mean is 0.1587. Okay, let's understand that one. Okay, another example. I will share my okay, this is the finance example. Okay, okay, for example number two. Okay, example number two natin. So here is gagawa lang ako ng drawing. Then let us find how to do it. Okay, using the empirical rule. I have here a normal curve. Okay, this will be our mean, one standard, two standards, oops, and three standard deviations. Okay? So, nahanapin ko, gusto kong hanapin only this part, only this part. So, how can I find this part of the normal curve or normal distribution? What will be the percentage of this one? For example, andito yung data ko. So, kailangan ko siyang hanapin. Ano yung percentage ng aking data? Right? Kung nasa ang part siya ng aking normal curve. So, the first thing, if you will notice this one, this is above the right. Also, it surpasses the two standard deviation, right? See, there's the two standard deviations. So we must know first the value of the two standard deviations in the empirical rule. Okay, what is the value for that one? The value for that one is 95 to standard deviation. Is equivalent to 0.9544. So this whole thing, this whole thing is 9544, right? Is 954 0.9544. Now, the thing is, we also know that these two parts are symmetrical. This is equal to this part, right? They're equal to that part. So therefore, we will divide 9544 into 2 to find this part, correct? To find that part. to this part. We need to find this part. So we will just divide it by 2. So 0.9544 divided by 2, so it will become 0.4742. So we have 0.4772. So since we already know that this part is 0.4772, we can now subtract this number from 0.5, since this whole thing, this whole thing is 0.5, correct? Or 50%. We will just minus them. What is 0.5 minus 0.4772? Why I added 3 numbers here? Para hindi nyo makalap ganito, ha? Okay, so cannot. So I will borrow 8220.0. So the answer for this part is 0.0228. Okay, so I just want to say this one. I want to summarize for this kind of example. First thing is you need to know how to draw or construct the normal curve. Okay? It's because if you don't know how to construct the normal curve, you cannot identify the part that you are needed to answer, needed to find. Right? So after constructing the normal curve, you need to analyze how many standard deviations are given above the mean or below the mean. Okay? And then use its percentage or decimal number to find the of the half of the standard deviation. Okay, for example, on this part, we found the half of 2 standard deviations. Right, since only one part we are using to find the missing one. Okay, last step is you need to minus the half of the standard deviation. It depends if that is 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so you will minus the answer for that part from 0.5. It's because the half of our normal curve, okay, has 0.5 or 50% of data. Okay, that is how you can find the area of a missing part in a normal curve. You got it? Okay, let's proceed to another example. I will stop sharing for our whiteboard, and then we will continue to go to our notebook here. So we already this one. Let's finish. Let's now proceed to the other example. What if your example is like this? The mean and standard deviation of a normally distributed scores are 15.8 and 2.2 respectively. Respectively means, okay, respectively means kung nauna yung mean dito, nag-mean this will be also the mean. So yung nauna. Pangalawa, standard deviation. Of course, pangalawa rin yung standard deviation. So 15.8 will be the mean. Standard deviation or 2.2 is its given value. Okay? Now, we need to construct the normal curve of the data. So it doesn't say that we need to find the area. We will just construct construct the normal curve of the data using one mean and one standard deviation given. Okay? So this will be the first step. Okay. First step is solve for the scores 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations away from the mean. So isa-solve namin lahat yung one standard deviation, two standard deviations, and three standard deviations. Why? It's because those are the important parts of our normal curve, right? This one, this is two, and this is three. So we will solve each part here. Okay, let's start. So for one standard deviation away from the mean, we have two formulas. We have the plus and the minus. Why? Plus is above the mean, minus is below the mean. Okay? So I'm going to plus and I did minus. So we need to find those two. So 15.8 plus 2.2, that is 18. And 15.8 minus 2.2, 13.6. Sabi na naman, sir, saan po nakuha yung 15.8 tsaka 2.2? These are the two given values na nasa problem natin. Ito yung mean, ito yung standard deviation. Okay? Got it? Okay. So we have the first two values of the standard deviation, which is one standard deviation. We have 18 on the above mean and 13.6 below the mean. For example, my face is the mean. Okay? Kahit oily na ako. Go na. Okay? So for example, this will be above the mean. Nandito yung 18 above the mean. Nandito yung 13.6 below the mean. That is 1. So yung sa to naman tayo. Okay? Sa to naman tayo. So the formula for that, two standard deviation, we will just multiply the standard deviation by 2. Okay? So plus below, above, minus below. Right? So 15.8, the value of the mean, 2.2, value of the standard deviation multiplied by 2. So we have 15.8 plus 4.4, which is 20.2 about the mean. 18 kanina yung 1, 20.2 naman yung 2. Okay? And then we have 13.9 here, if I'm not mistaken, and then 11.4 below the mean, two standard deviations. Okay? So ang gagawin lang dito is we will just solve for one standard deviation, 2, and 3. Okay? After knowing all of those, and if the last one will be 3 standard deviations, of course, we will just multiply the standard deviation by 3. Okay? So we have 22.4 and 9.2 above and below. Okay? So after knowing the values of those standard deviations, we can now construct our own normal curve. Of course, at the center, this will be our mean. 15.8 is our mean. Alright? 15.8 is our mean. And we just put the one standard deviation above the mean, which is 18, two standard deviations above the mean, 20.2, three standard deviations above the mean, 22.4, one standard deviation below the mean, 13.6, two standard deviation below the mean, 11.4, and three standard deviations below the mean, which is 9.2. So this is how it goes. Ang simple, di ba? So kailangan mo lang gawin is to find the values of each of these parts of standard deviation, and then ihihilera mo lang na ganyan. And then that will be your sa isang burahin natin. Clear lahat siya. Clear our drawings. Oh, tapos. Diba? Okay? For example, we have, I'll just give you the and this standard deviation. For example, our mean is 25.8. Malaki naman ang data. And then our standard deviation or yung kaluwang ng bawat data will give you 3.2. For example, okay, let us draw the normal curve for these two given values. Okay, let us first solve. We want as a one standard deviation. We have mean plus standard deviation, mean minus standard deviation, correct? So we have 25.8 plus 3.2, 25.8 minus 3.2. So we have the answers 29 and 22. Those are the first. So tayo, mean plus 2 standard deviations, mean minus 2 standard deviations. Mean 25.8 plus 2 times 3.2 is 6.4. Baka magkakala naman kayo, sir, saan po galing 6.4? I just multiply 2 from 3.2. That's why we have 6.4. Okay, so 25.8 minus 6.4 equals nothing. 25.8 plus 6.4 is 32.3. But if I'm wrong, okay, just comment down below. Gusto kong kami ba kung sabihin nila, puro rin ang calculus, hindi marunong mag-ano. Sure ko na nga na. O, tama pala ako. 32 points. Okay, and then 25.8 minus 6.4, that will be 19.4. Nasa nasa mano-mano lang. Okay, next, the last one, the three standard deviations. 3 beta 3 plus 3. 3 times 3.2, that is 25.8 plus 9.6. Okay, baka dito naman alam. 3.2 times 3. So we have 9.6. So papatal lang natin yung kanilang sign sa gitna. And there you go. 25.8 plus 9.6 is 14, carry 1. 10, 15, carry 1, 35.4. Correct? And then we have 25, we have 2, we have 16, 16.2. Okay. After knowing all of those, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let us now put those in our. Oh my God. Ando na. Kami sakto yung mga sagot. Okay. So, we will just put it here. So, medyo pag-edit ko lang yung nakasulat na yung space. Okay. Pag-edit ko lang. Good. Ayan. So, let us put each of those. So, our mean, of course, we will put 25.8. That will be our mean. Yung ating above the mean, 29. Below the mean, 22.6. Above the mean, 32.2. Below the mean, 19.4. this one's about the mean below the mean is 16 points. And this will be your normal curve. This is how you can construct your own normal curve using only two given values. Okay, one for mean and one for standard deviation. Okay? Okay. So I will give this will be the end of this discussion. I will give you your activity in the QSA. Okay, I will just set it there, and then you can pass it to uh, next next Saturday. Okay, if you have questions, just chat me in the messenger, and I will answer your question. Okay, I hope na hindi ako busy. Kaya pala ako busy. Sorry for that one. Okay, so see you again next time.